So good, so good, so good.
Everything you want for summer is at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and up to 60% off. Stock up and save on the brands you love like Vince, Sam Edelman, Frame, and Free People. Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
And action! Hello and welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast live at the Independent Film Festival!
This is, in fact, our first Make Your Film event since COVID, so we are delighted to be back. Thank you all for coming. It's our absolute pleasure to have you all here.
Absolutely. This is Dom Lemoir. He is not only a brilliant host of the Filmmakers Podcast, he's also a director in his own right. He's made 3 feature films before the age of 30, including the 16-time award-winning Winter Ridge. He's also produced the indie films I Love My Mum, soundtrack to 16, and The Unreason, which is coming out very soon. It's Dom Lemoir, everyone!
I'm not sure I'm going to do as well for Giles, but Giles did write and direct his debut studio film, Millennium Pictures' The Dare. He's also directed Wolves of War, The Stranger in Our Bed. He's also produced, the paragraph here, A Serial Killer's Guide to Life, Followers, Repeat, and recently, 3-Day Millionaire, which reached number 5 on Netflix, which is very exciting.
Ooh, thank you, thank you. We have an amazing, not only audience, but an amazing panel here today. So, we'd like to bring them up. First of all, we're going to bring up the amazing Cos Greenop, who has directed the films Dark Beacon, Last Heist, Sweet Street, Velvet, and House Red, and he's just wrapped on his latest feature film shot in Iceland. It all comes with the cold water. Cos Greenop, give it up!
Next guest to announce is the fantastic Debs Paterson, who has worked as a director on such amazing shows as the Paramount Plus Halo TV series, the Disney show Willow. She has also done the Skywalker Legacy documentary and Africa United feature film. Please welcome her to the stage.
And also we're bringing up the amazing Francis Annan. He wrote and directed the political thriller Escape from Pretoria, which starred Daniel Radcliffe and Ian Hart. It was released all around the world to great success. Other credits include Warzak, Holby City, The Longest Drive, Unsaid Stories, and the upcoming, which he is in development for right now, The Count of Monte Cristo. Give it up for Francis Annan! Yeah. Okay. There you go. Hello, how are we doing? We all right?
Very good.
Yeah? Yeah, feeling good. It's cosy up here, isn't it?
A bit of a New York feel with the brick as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So look, I suppose we want to talk about, well, actually, let's ask the audience first of all. How many people in the room are filmmakers? So we get a hand. Put your hands up. Give a scream. Great, okay.
Writers?
Any writers in the room? That's nearly half. Yeah, great. Directors, how many directors have we got? Again, just under half. Producers? Okay, under half, even more so.
Crew? There we go.
We got 3.
So if you need a crew, anyone, he's your guy.
How many people in this room have made a short film and got it released and out there?
TV, directed any TV or been involved in TV.
Okay, so a couple. All right. And how many people in the room have made a feature film?
Awesome.
Hey, awesome.
Mark's just done his feature film and looks very, very excited about it.
Very excited by that.
We want to just sort of start off with a question which all three of you can sort of discuss, which is basically what state of the industry at the moment. There does seem to be like a major cast shortage, maybe with streamers, maybe with just what's going on. And it's also very difficult to raise finance for indie films. So what's your current experience with those two things at the moment? Have you had to deal with it? Should we start with you, Debs?
Can do. Hi, is this, good?
Yeah, very good. Hi.
It's been an interesting time the last few years. There's been like obviously pandemic and explosion of streaming and explosion of TV over features, which means, as you say, casts are tied up for a lot longer, harder to get availability. But I don't know that it's not about to swing back. There's strikes incoming for the WGA and directors and producers possible. I mean, directors apparently only ever struck once for 3 hours.
That's long enough for a cup of tea.
And television's a writers' medium anyway, so the writers are leading the charge for the first time on this one. So it's going to be interesting to see what that does in tech, as well as a massive consolidation. And it feels like there's going to be a squeeze on TV incoming, which might be absolutely brilliant for independent film. And also people are coming out again. You know, cinema's a kind of collective art form. We've been really fractured for the last 10 years. And so I wonder if those two things coalesce as well. It feels like there's maybe a bit more cohesion and people might be going out there. So
yeah, I think there's like a bit of an independent cinema sort of rejuvenation as well. I mean, we've done a few cinema tours recently, and the small cinemas seem to be really succeeding, where there's community sort of gatherings and people come every week. It's interesting. It's kind of moving away from the chains, so maybe there is something coming.
It's interesting what you say there, Debs, about the TV industry and how it has been so busy and so popular, which makes it very hard for independent filmmakers because crew have gone. Netflix is signing a lot of crew up for years in advance. That means casts are going as well, and agents don't want casts to come and do indie films where they're getting paid very little and it might never see the light of day. So if it does swing back round, it will be a real breath of fresh air for a lot of independent filmmakers right now. Cos, how are you feeling about that?
I think you're right. I mean, in terms of indie film and in terms of cast, like we have not seen like an issue with that. I think just because a lot of the big cast are tied up, but they're not people that we could approach anyway because of the budgets that we have. I mean, certainly shooting in Iceland, is a very small country anyway for the industry. Every single crew member was literally tied up in the new True Detective that they were shooting out there. So we thought that we were going to get a load of tax breaks because of their crew, and then we had no crew, so we couldn't anyway. So that was kind of frustrating.
Right.
So we had to fly everyone out. So in terms of that, it's in terms of the cast, we as independent film have not found an issue finding great actors for our stuff, but obviously if we know that we go to a lot of distributors and they have a tick list of actors that they want, and it's like, they're available in 2030, and it's like, okay, great.
Yeah. How long did you shoot, out of interest?
We were in Iceland for a month, but the actual shoot, we shot the entire movie in 12 days.
Yeah. Wow.
That's rough.
Hence why I look homeless.
Cos is very handsome.
Under all this.
And what about yourself, Francis? What's happening for your world? Because obviously your first film, big stars in it, and obviously I imagine the Count of Monte Cristo as well. So how are you finding that process right now?
Well, the Count of Monte Cristo is already, not gone, but that's already, thrown into the ether, and other projects have come in. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing that's happening. Projects getting stalled because, maybe trying to go for slightly bigger cast. You have the problem of their availability because of high-end television. Great filmmaker turned television people who are kind of, attracting top cast. So whereas 7-8 years ago, you might get Gary Oldman or this person, they're doing, an Apple TV series for 9 months. Some of these actors will get upwards of 1.2, 1.5 million per episode. And people like us who are making films around the 10, 15 level or lower or higher cannot compete with such a thing. So then the quality of the script, the character, and what that has to offer the actor vis-a-vis their slate, the location, and other things could be interesting to the actor. But then if that actor is quite big and they're chasing certain directors and filmmakers, then you have to be careful because I don't want to do that, I want to do work with that, and then you just find that's a big problem. So it's tricky. I think it's not really much different to 15 years ago. all the stuff we were doing, trying to get, high-level cast, sales agents telling us this, and this gets you this pre-sales. That what's trickier is a lot of those actors are working in higher-end television, producing, acting in it, sometimes writing it, and so their time is less, and that leaves, the kind of purer film, indie film people struggling a bit to get them. If you don't get them, then it's hard to get the pre-sales. If you don't get the pre-sales, the whole thing is crumbling. But I think your idea of going, you know what, stuff you suckers. I've got 500, I've got 750, I've got a mil. Okay, I want a 25-day shoot, but if I can grab it in 12 or 15, and you know what you're doing, that could be a way around it. But it's difficult in terms of cast. It's hard because of that lack of availability.
I think also sometimes franchises as well, like the Hollywood franchises. I mean, the Fast and Furious, all of these franchises have so many iterations and they're constantly churning out the next one. And they're constantly sort of doing post on one and then they're moving into the next one. A lot of the time, availabilities are also held up in that, which can be a bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be very difficult. I don't know necessarily the way around it. Like, say, if someone's trying to start their first film, I read this report the other day. They only spoke to 104 indie filmmakers. But
that's all of us.
It's pretty much everyone here. And it said that basically anyone who made their film for under 50K, the turn of profit was about 80%.
Oh, that's right.
Anyone who made anything from 50K up to almost 900K very rarely did. So it's down to 2%. And then above that, it started to turn profit again. And obviously that is an area where if someone wants to make an indie film and you want to have talent in it and you want to make it with good crew and good people, it's the world we're playing in. And that was frightening. It was a little bit kind of like, wow, how are we going to tackle that?
I was going to say, the one thing on the non-doom and gloom side is one of the things that routinely filmmakers and cast really struggle with in TV, and it is, I don't know why it's consistent, but it is consistent, is they don't have all of the scripts before you shoot. So, like, if you're a cast member and you care about, obviously, you care about what you're making, the difference between going into a shoot in collaboration with the filmmakers, knowing what the script is, knowing what you want to bring. Obviously, you're always shooting out of order, but often people are kind of, they'll read the first 2 scripts of a 10-parter, but the rest of the 8, like, where is your character going in any meaningful way, in any nuanced way, often, like, horrifyingly often, isn't clear until literally the point where you start to shoot, and sometimes as you're already in the middle of a block. So there's a huge advantage of approaching costs with a finished script, with a compelling vision, and in a kind of collaborative mindset. That's massively appealing. So, pros and cons.
I suppose the difficult bit is whether the script actually gets to the cast.
Yes.
Because, I mean, that's really you don't know at the end of the day. I mean, you build relationships with, casting agents, etc., but you don't know whether they will read the script. And it could be the absolute perfect script. It could be someone that's never done a lead before in that kind of dramatic role or whatever. You could have an amazing package, but the problem is the casting, the agents of the cast are under tremendous pressure because there's so much money being thrown around and there's so many big projects. And as we said earlier, that people are missing out if they commit to something small and then they miss the next. And
the agents are not making money off your small film, so it might not be the best route.
Yeah,
full stop, right?
Yeah, full stop. So all we can do is just try and write the best script we can. Really, is really fight for what we believe in, and go. I'm going to do it. I don't care what happens. I'm going to beat the odds, and I'm going to make it. And that's why you're all here anyway in the first place, because you give a shit about going out there and making the best film you can. So if you weren't, you wouldn't be here.
I mean, that was. I mean, it's not an indie filmmaker, but Taika Waititi with Jojo Rabbit did exactly that. He just said, there's no way I can pitch this film. I've tried pitching this film to a few friends. They just said no. I'm just going to make a really good script, and if you like it, then make my movie. So, just get up to his level and then make a really good script. The rest is history.
One small thing, on a very practical level, producers, directors, even writers, 90% of whom I'm sure I've already actually approached cast. You'll send your script to an agent. They'll be immediately, on your ass. What's the flipping shooting schedule and how many days and what's the budget? And they don't really care about what the schedule and budget is. They're testing you. They're trying to see, have you hired a line producer and costed this and it's, whatever it is. They're saying, have you done a 27-day schedule and you know that you need my actor to play the lead for 15 days? And so if you want to punch above your weight, I would possibly recommend, whether you do it yourself on a bit of a whim or whether you spend 500 quid or a bit of money to hire a line producer, to have those bits of information ready, because that first hurdle, 27 days, okay, and you need my guy for 15 days, and the budget's 2.5, send the script. It gets you through that first hurdle, because they know that there's an element of professionalism there. You're not just sending it on a whim. That's one thing I recommend. And then the second thing is, whether you're on your own, do try and have a very short précis, again, most people know this, of whoever's in your team and what they've done. A couple of little sprinkles of credits. It's amazing how just a simple, tight email with some of that is just very helpful. Just in 15 seconds when they're going through emails, they go, it checks out, it looks good, send it. And then they will probably just put it in the pile and send it. So that's one little thing. If you're going for those top level actors, the agents will test you with those sorts of questions. Just it's useful to be ready with those things.
Literally reminds me of, I was speaking to an agent of an actress on one of my first movies, and I remember them saying, will the money go into an escrow? And I'm like, yeah. I had no fucking clue what an escrow. I was like Googling, is it some kind of weird crow? Like, what is that on a rider? Like, I had no idea. So it's like, be prepared for those kind of questions that they ask, because like they will ask you these questions to test that you do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And one thing I just add is, kind of what Francis is saying as well, is whatever you can do to show that you're not just a piece of paper, which basically a script is just a piece of paper. You want to come in with a business plan. You want to do everything that everyone else isn't doing. I went out to America and did a recce, for a script. I can come back and I can say, okay, this is where it's shooting. I've got pictures of it. I can say this is where it's going to be. Get the line budget done. That's a massive one, definitely. Even get the schedule done. And then you're just not walking into the room like you're basically just someone with a dream and an idea.
It's great advice, all of you. It really does make a difference when you come fully prepared. And that's really hard. That's the hard bit, is learning that stuff. But the sooner you can learn it, the better you'll be at it. Ask around this afternoon. Go speak to people afterwards. Could anyone help me? I can send you this if you can send me that. And you can all grow. That's how it works.
Do you guys all use pitch decks, and do you sort of try and do personalised letter to cast as well? Like, how do you sort of approach those?
Yeah, 100% always get pitch decks. I don't do letters, but I will, like, kind of cheekily almost, like, just put like a list of cast and their head right there and be like, this could be you, like, type thing. So I'll always say, like, ideal cast. It's like, you're perfect. You're in the deck. We spent £10 on printing for your face. So
in gloss.
Yeah.
How about you, Anand? You certainly, when you were doing Escape from Pretoria, did you think about your vision deck? Was that part of your plan when you were pitching to someone like Daniel Radcliffe?
The pitch decks are interesting. I mean, again, they can be useful in terms of the sucker did a pitch deck. They won't read it, but the fact that you've done it,
yes,
it's more the idea.
Yes.
Whatever. It sounds corny, but it's just all these. Maybe there's 10 bricks you've got to, and every small little thing you've got your thing, you've got your this, you've got that, and let's go okay, because they don't know you. They've never heard of you before. They know so and so studios. They know this big producer. They don't know you, and so all these little things are just helpful markers. With Dan, one of the producers knew Dan's agent, so that helps a lot. And he told a few jokes about rival football teams, and that was that.
Wizard jokes, etc.
Yeah. She read it and loved it, sent it to Dan, and then the rest was history. In terms of letters, I used to do letters as a director. I think I wouldn't discourage them, but I didn't find them incredibly helpful all the time. They weren't the thing that made or broke the thing. I just recently did a short video, a 1-minute video to a big actor who was in Australia, and just said hi, blah 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 blah, and the producer said that's a great idea. Something like that could work. Literally, a selfie. Hi, I'm here. This is the character. This is you. I'd love you for it. Hopefully, jump on a Zoom at some point. If it resonates with you. Bye. Something like this.
It's just displaying competence, isn't it? Even if you don't read the pitch deck, but it looks well produced, not like a sort of amateur thing that you made in Microsoft Paint or.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in pitch decks. Like I really enjoy doing them. Like I enjoy the process of, can I communicate this vision in images and references, and because a big part of people work with a lot of different directors, and a big part of your job is not to do, and it's the hardest thing about transitioning from indie stuff into like bigger stuff, is that your job in indie stuff is to do everything and to compensate for every gap that you kind of got to fill. And then as you with an actor, you don't need to compensate for them. Somebody that knows their stuff, they want to know that you're going to be able to communicate what you want, and let them be best placed to deliver what they're really, really good at. So I actually, only during the last 5 years or so, but I've come to really enjoy the pitch deck process, partly because it clarifies my feelings about, each phase of the thing that we're talking about. And also because like you're saying, it kind of demonstrates the sort of communicator that you'll be, the way that you can kind of offer a sort of vision to the different collaborators, because everybody works in different ways as well. So yeah, I really enjoy it for that.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I think for me, it's exactly the same thing. I sort of clarify what my film or TV series is going to be if I spend time working on it. The colour palette, getting images from other places. And look, of course, you're taking images from films that are very successful and have made lots of money.
Subliminal advertising.
Yeah, exactly. And made lots of
this
money.
could be like this Oscar winner.
Exactly, yeah. We're going to have just as much. Of course it is. But yeah, but that's your idea for it. And that's okay. And I love it too, because you really then start to piece together what your film's going to be, which helps you then to talk to an actor about it, or a producer at first, or whoever it's going to be, a director if you've written it.
And there's aggregate sites now that massively facilitate the process. It used to be extremely time consuming, but there's shot deck and Film.io, and it's game changing.
AI as well.
Yeah, and AI these days.
AI, yeah.
You can even get actors to, if there's a specific actor you want, you put them in AI and they can be wearing the costume from your film.
No, that's mental.
Yeah, so you've got all those options for you now for your pitch. And that don't have to be a name, it helps, because obviously AI...
Put that in the cast.
Yeah, well, you can. No, you can actually.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel if I was an actor and someone had put me to be RoboCop or something, and then they sent me the pitch deck of it. I'd
like it. I think, I don't know, any actors in the room would...
Yeah, RoboCop.
Yeah, you'd love it if someone sent you a pitch deck and there was you in it as a character that they were pitching.
I really love it. I wouldn't care if it was AI.
Yeah, there you go. So, I don't know, I think it depends. Maybe if it was Russell Crowe, maybe not, but, I think it just depends. But
can't rustle up with that.
Brilliant. Wow. So look, maybe we'll come back to that, because it's a really interesting topic. Maybe you've got some questions about that we'll come back to in a bit. But let's wind it back a little bit just to work out our first beginnings into how we got a film made or a TV show made, because I think that is always the most interesting part, the trickiest part, the hardest bit. Let's start with you, Cos. How did your first film happen? How did you get it made?
So I went to film school in up north, and it was basically the most uninspiring 3 years of my life. It was like getting a degree in finger painting, such a waste of time.
And some people are good at finger painting.
Yeah. But I started off being a camera assistant and worked up to being an editor and camera operator. I did music videos, documentaries. And that was great because I was on set. I still to this day, I still do a lot of corporate work, and it's great because you're behind a camera and you're not at a desk. But it was never my story. I always want to tell, even doing music videos, you can be creative, but it's always the artist's interpretation of their song and their music, and it was never my story. And it was only really when I had, I do a lot of rock climbing and had a rock climbing accident in 2012, and I had 3 months in bed in traction, and I was like, right, if I don't write a feature-length script now, I never will, and I need to get that out of my head. Yeah. I was like, let's turn this negative into a positive. So I was a massive fan of B-movie horror movies, UK, Korean, Japanese horror, and I was like, okay, I want to make a horror film. And I'd seen, it was back in 2012 when everything was getting released to DVDs. You watch some dreadful horror movies, with booms and shot, and they were getting distributed. So I was like, right, well, if I write something that has all these kind of tick lists in that all these horror films had, I thought, well, chances are I might be able to get this made. So I spent 3 months writing this script. Again, I had no training in script writing whatsoever, but I kind of thought that I'd seen enough movies to understand how the pacing and tone and things worked. So I wrote this script and thought, actually, I really want to go make this film. But coming from Leeds, I didn't know anyone in the film industry. I knew a lot of people who worked in the corporate world, but didn't know anybody. But whilst I've been working on these kind of music videos and corporate videos, I'd saved up some money to be an adult and put a deposit on a house. And I kind of just thought, well, you know what, if you're a tradesman, if you're a plumber or electrician, you invest in the tools you need for the job. So I thought, if I want to be a filmmaker, I'm going to invest in myself. And because I knew that these films were getting distributed, I thought, well, rather than making a 20 grand short film, if I make a 20 grand feature, then I might get some money back. Short films will never get money back. Yes, they're great calling cards, but I thought, well, if I'm putting my own money in, even if I get, a couple of grand back, at least it's more money back to me. So kind of went away and we shot this movie in the Highlands of Scotland with 2 actors, and it went back to, I always say the best film school is reading this book by Robert Rodriguez called Rebel Without a Crew, because it's the most inspiring book ever, and it's just like, just go fucking do it with what you've got. He had a turtle and a guitar case, so he went and shot El Mariachi. I had my dad's camper van, and I went, right, I'm going to have 2 actors in a camper van. It's one little location. Went up to the Highlands of Scotland. I shot it on a Lumix GH2 camera, hacked the firmware to up the bitrate, bought a load of World War II lenses on eBay. I shot it, edited it, learned how to do the DCP, color grade. I was the caterer, did everything with these 2 actors and a sound guy. And it was only when my lead actress saw the film, said, oh, you should take it to Cannes Film Festival. And I was like, I don't know what's Cannes Film Festival? Like, you see the red carpets and stuff, and you're like, no, it's a market where you can go and sell your film. And being an avid collector of DVDs, I looked at all these really crappy B-movie horrors, looked at the back, saw the distributors, and set up meetings with all these distributors. So I think I had about 120 quid left to my name, so bought some Ryanair flights from Leeds to Nice, and set up about 40 meetings in 3 days. I slept on the beach for 2 nights and a hotel lobby the other night, and literally just went and handed. I felt like a used car salesman, handing out DVD, and just went to all these distributors, handed the DVD out, and a month later, E1 bought the rights to that movie and got distributed all over the world, and that was kind of my career. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. It's not just my mum liking my movie. Oh, he's a filmmaker. So I was like, I need to be in London. So yeah, literally kind of, I used to go down to London all the time for meetings from Leeds on the megabus, and I just thought, right, it's a 6-hour megabus, and I'm like having 10-minute meetings and then going 6 hours back on the megabus. Like, this is ridiculous. So I had a mate at film school that lives in Ealing, and I was like, you're a really talented writer. Do you want to write with me on this next film? And it was basically an excuse to live at his house in London so I could take other meetings. So,
did he know that?
No, he does now. So it was supposed to be like 6 months living there, and I think I ended up living there for about 5 years at his house. And that was it. But yeah, just being around London.
You're still friends?
Kind of. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Cos, that's amazing. Give it up for Cos. That's brilliant. Wow. That is amazing. I love that.
I've got a question. So, this idea of looking at the back of the DVDs and that's an amazing idea. So, just to break that down, you look and you see Europa Films. What do you do next in terms of converting that to a meeting?
Go on LinkedIn, go on their website, see who their head of acquisitions is, and just say, hi, I'm Cos from Leeds, I've made a movie, are you in Cannes? And just say, look, because the thing is, with distributors and sales agents, they will take those meetings if you've got something, because it costs them nothing. So, I could have made the next Pulp Fiction. My first one definitely isn't the next Pulp Fiction. But, they're willing to take a chance because it's not going to cost them anything to watch a screener of a DVD. If I was there going, I've got a script and I need some money, they'd tell me to do one. But the fact that I had a finished product, they're like, well, what does it cost us? 90 minutes to watch a movie. So I actually found it, I was like, I got this call from E1, I was like, filmmaking's fucking easy. Like, saw my first film at Hollywood, yeah, so the next 10 years, not so easy. But at that point, I was like, this is great. And it was at a time in 2013 when, they were literally buying everything, because it was like the dying days of DVD and supermarket films and things like that. So, they were willing to take the meetings.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure most of you don't know that. That's a great idea. And if anyone's familiar with Synando, it's a kind of
database.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, amazing mashup of everything, but just for film. And all the distributors and sales agents will often, 90% of them, will say they're at Cannes. And if you can band together and pay some money for Synando and get a little thing, then they've got mobile phone numbers on there and their personal emails for all the 3,000 distributors, and you can do what he's done on a kind of acid level 11 version. But if you do 100 emails, you will almost certainly get 15 meetings. And of those 15 meetings, what do you need? 1, 2? You're done.
The thing is, you often, in Cannes as well, you get meetings that you would never get in London, even though you live 5 minutes from their house, or their office, or whatever. Like, it is a great opportunity where you can target people, and they just might be open to something they're not open to all the time.
Yeah, Synando spelled CIN.
ANDO.
ANDO. The email's short.
Yes.
And punchy. I'm here. I've got this. I'm here during these dates. I'd love to meet.
If they don't get back to you, don't worry about it. They're busy people. You can then pop into their office potentially and try and speak to the receptionist if they've got one at Cannes as well and say, hey, I'm here. There's another site as well called hunter.io. Again, you're supposed to pay for that, but actually if you go on the site, what they do is they blur out the emails that they say pay for this, but you can work it out. It's kind of quite easy to do.
Yeah,
so
if you just change the first name and
Yes.
then like find the CEO's first name and then like add them onto the email. But I mean, it's a good point about not overselling the email. I mean, if you're incredibly famous, if you're Steven Spielberg or whatever, and you're sending an email, it's going to be a couple of words. It's going to be like pretty casual. It's going to be like a little bit of information, enough to sort of just someone that's just arranging another meeting. If you send a massive email, it's got like hundreds of attachments. You're really like overselling yourself. They're just going to think, oh fucking hell, this is going to be hard work, and I've already been put off by this, and this.
And
so
often attachments clog up their inbox, or it goes into spam because you've put an attachment straight away. So quite tip here is to send the email and then go, oh, and by the way, here's the attachment afterwards. Again, you can probably get away with it, but you don't necessarily wait for them to ask sometimes, especially first time.
I mean, that's another thing I was discussing the other day, is whether to send a pitch deck in the initial email or whether to ask to send the pitch deck. And I'm kind of of the opinion, ask to send it, because otherwise you never know if they've actually received it. And then you've got something for them to be, I haven't seen that yet.
And you're right, you can follow up with it. I'm the opposite, I put it in, but I think I'm going to take your advice from now on and not do that. Debs, what about yourself then? Let's talk about your sort of start your way in as well.
Oddly, also involves 3 months in traction, which is
really
random. Not to be recommended.
Wow, in Leeds as well.
No, Cambridge level.
Cambridge, right? Close.
So knew I wanted to make films. Didn't really know anyone or how to do it. Randomly presented Match of the Day in Singapore for a minute and a half.
You were presenter, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But knew I wanted to do films, so I came back to London in the hope of trying to get involved. So I got a job at the Directors Guild of Great Britain.
How did you get that, though?
Maybe it was via shooting people.
Okay.
There used to be back in I'm just displaying my age now.
It's still around.
Is it?
Yeah.
It was like basically it was festivals or shooting people trying to figure out how to get a community. I hadn't gone to film school, was intimidated by the cost of it, and didn't really know how to get going with that. Kind of wanted to go to film school forever, never quite managed. But figured I needed a community of people. How can I learn? Who can I learn from? That kind of thing. So did some to figure out what directors did. Signed up as a first AD on a couple of National Film School shorts, and I apologise to them. And got some public funding to produce. People didn't really see me as a director, and that was partly because the time that it was. Directors normally looked a certain way, and it wasn't like me. And then had an awful car accident, 3 months of traction. Wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't give it back.
It's worked for these two.
Right. And then as I was recovering from that, having thought that would be a stop to any kind of, I was grateful to be walking and talking and having a functional face, frankly, at that point. But realised about 3 years after that I was healthy again, and probably had some friends who would come and do something with me. So remembered this story that I'd heard in Rwanda about a school shooting in Rwanda, had some friends that were filming a charity video in Uganda, and said, if you can do these dates, we'll come over the border after and help you film this. A friend of a friend had just been in a film in Rwanda, called him, met some filmmakers in Rwanda, over Skype, wrote the script with a Rwandan filmmaker that I'd never met. But it was this amazing, quite weirdly powerful true story about these kids that refused to acquiesce to rebels telling them to separate in the aftermath of genocide. Really genuinely inspiring story. So we shot it on no money. Everyone paid for their own flights. I realised as we were getting on the plane, having never done this before, this is going to cost £2,600 of real money that I don't have. Sent an email to everyone I knew going, if anyone would like to give us some money, this is what we're making, this is why. Got to Rwanda, checked email again when you could find a Wi-Fi to check. And we had been given literally £2,600 by mates.
Wow.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
So then it was a complete kind of ragtag, but an amazing story, shot in the school where it happened, had survivors advising us. It was made with Kleenex and spit, basically. But it still plays every year on Rwanda national TV. It's a genuinely very inspiring story. And that kind of, we scrabbled together money to do festivals. We got like this charity for some reason gave us some money to do post in their thing. It was like a real just make it up as you go along thing, but the story was incredible and the performances from the kids were incredible, and it was and it was in Rwandan. Can you Rwandan? But played festivals all over the place, and then got seen by some producers who said, "Oh, you're interesting. Let's do some more." So I made 2 more shorts with them. Then, by total chance, that school shooting short plus a kind of magical realist short we'd done for another competition, like festival competition, was the perfect calling card for this, like for Africa United, which was like a road movie. It was kind of Cool Runnings meets Stand By Me meets Slumdog Millionaire, also set in East Africa. And I've got this skin, but my mum was brought up in Rwanda, and I've got a lot of friends and family genuinely in Rwanda, so there was a kind of connection. Anyway, so out of nowhere had gone from scrabbling together short films to Pathé and BBC Films going, we'll make this next. And by total chance, the short films were the calling card for that script. So they were like, we think you can do it. And so that all happened my first film happened very, very fast, and I didn't really know anything about the industry. So my major kind of industry learning happened after that in the 7 years where I couldn't get arrested to do anything. And then started doing TV via the Star Wars doc, and it's been busy.
I suppose the distribution of that was the big break, wasn't it? I mean, it's a big film for Africa United.
Yeah, no, it was weird. It just kind of captured what I remember about that one that I then failed to create for like the projects I was trying to get off the ground after that. Was it needed to be then. It was like there was a kind of now or never factor. And I do think creating an imperative for everybody else to see really easily, we understand why this needs to be now, which is there's 1,000 different ways to kind of create an imperative like that. But like everyone's, giving people a reason to say yes, that was accidentally in place for that. It just happened to be, the little film just wanted to exist and we were along for the ride, is how it kind of felt on that one.
I think I love the fact that you've gone out there to shoot the short as well. And it's kind of, I mean, a lot of people, they think, okay, well, I'm going to shoot the simplest, easiest one-room thing I can possibly do for the least money. But I always think, like, do something ambitious, do something like the comfort zone, travel, do an exciting short that's in a different culture, and you throw yourself into it and sort of separate yourself from everyone else. And I think for you, it's really worked.
The truth is there was no strategy whatsoever. It was like, I need a story. I know I have the people that will make something with me. I need the story. And then this story came to my mind. It had stayed with me for 10 years. I'd heard it on the radio, visiting my gran there. That story, I'm going to tell that story. So there was no strategy, at all.
What about the actual directing of it then? Because like you said, you'd done the shorts and you'd found your way through them. Suddenly now you're directing a feature film. Talk us through that process for you to suddenly go, okay, I've got to really think about my shots, working with probably a bigger cinematographer perhaps, and the crew. What was that for you like, and what did you learn massively?
It was the learning curve was like that.
Yes. Yeah.
I swear there was so much stuff that I didn't know at that point, and there is the kind of freedom to that. Like I've noticed that in a lot of people's stories, it's definitely true in mine, is after the first one is when you have the hardest time. Yeah. Because then you do sort of know, but you don't really have a strong sense of. It's taken me the 10 years. I just was in LA recently, and I noticed how nice it is now I do have a good idea of what most people are looking for, like, on the other side of the table.
What is that?
Dossier.
As opposed to, that first round of meetings, you're kind of going in, I know what I need. I have no idea what you need, at all. And there's something really valuable about, right, I understand what you're, like, my last job, I had to do 7 interviews with different studios and producers and all the rest of it to get it. But it was every single interview was like, I understand what you people are looking for and I know what will reassure you. And I just didn't know that prior. And some of that is learning it the hard way, and some of it is, making friends with people who are doing it.
What were some of the biggest challenges of that first feature?
With the first one, the biggest one, I didn't know what a tech recce was. Like, I'd never been on a feature. If I had my time again, I would learn to be a boom op and get paid, because sound is always the department that gets paid first. And you're right in the mix. You know, you're right by the actors, you're right with the director, you hear everything, and I would get paid to learn. That's what I would do if I was starting again.
Very interesting.
And you leave. There's no pack-up time.
Yeah, they are out of there.
Yeah, no. So it was, you know, on my feature there was I had a huge amount of like, I know how to tell a story, that kind of chutzpah or whatever. I had that. I knew I could work with cast. That wasn't a word. I'd like worked in casting, and I had, you know, I knew I was comfortable with actors. I didn't understand what does a DP need. I had Sean Bobbitt shooting, who was, I mean, he's so talented, and he was so like, what am I doing? Like a lot of the time. Thankfully, Kate Reed, who's a super talented cinematographer, she was also, we kind of had two DPs shooting constantly because there were so many kids. So between us, we managed to muscle through, but poor old Sean, I mean, like, I didn't have a clue. Like, had no language, had no craft, had no, you know, I spent a lot of the time after that realising, credibility-wise in the industry, it isn't just a good story filled with good actors. There's a language to cinematography that I didn't understand at all, and I do now, which is great, you know. But what was a tetrarchy? Don't know. All these great big South Africans got out of a bus, and I was like, everyone's standing around and sort of looking at me. Shit, that means I'm supposed to say something.
Just nod and point.
Here we are.
But that must have been fascinating now looking back, because everyone says you're never as free as your first film, and maybe everyone agrees here on the panel. I definitely felt that, even though it's frightening. At the same time, the second one and your third, suddenly now you've got someone more to answer to, or you've got to try and do better, or there's more money. Did you feel that way in terms of your first one, to go, look, maybe I don't know all the terminology, but I'm having a great time, or I'm finding my way through this in the best possible way? Or were you shitting
The
yourself?
thing that I struggled with the most was the transition from the indie thing where you do everything into being able to rely on other people, you know, who were way more experienced than me, to like, I genuinely don't need to do that for you. Like, I can really lean on you. I was super grateful. I had a brilliant relationship with Pathé, and they were incredibly supportive through the whole thing. But in terms of, you know, the crew being able to bring their thing, Sean being able to bring his thing, like you know, I felt like I didn't have a way to negotiate creatively at that time, which meant that you either intuit somehow what I want, or I'm trying to fold around you. Whereas now there's much more of like, I understand much better how to illustrate or set a vision for what I'm looking at, and invite, you know, everybody to bring their creativity, because that's what, I mean, that's what everybody wants, isn't it? It isn't about being a meat puppet, either as a cast member or a crew member. It's about, I want to bring my creativity and my experience to help you realise the thing that you see. So that was a big transition, I think.
And that's one of the benefits of doing like so many different roles when you're starting out, is you learn different departments and you learn how not to fuck things up for them. And it really is valuable when you can talk to them in their language. And, you know, obviously you've learnt that in terms of talking to execs as well, which is amazing.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV. Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is ours.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room. Just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
This is a Bose moment. You've been there before. Somebody's apartment, small talk that's going nowhere, plastic cup that's almost empty. It's not great. Then someone hits play on a Bose speaker. Heads nod, feet tap, one person dances, then everyone does. Awkward becomes electric. When Bose sound fills the room, you don't just hear the music, you feel it. Your life deserves music. Your music deserves Bose. Find your perfect product at Bose.com.
Francis, what was your sort of way into all this?
So I'm trying to think. I'll try and keep it specific. In terms of first film, and generally, I was going to study something completely different. I did a BBC training course with Phil Hawkins, two brothers in arms, way back in 2002, 2003, and then kind of switched to study directing at Bournemouth Film School, and then went back to the BBC and kind of scrounged little bits of kind of camera trainee-ish type stuff. And the main aim was, I used to watch a lot of television, watch a lot of films, like, okay, how does the director talk to the DP? How does, what you're talking with the boom up, like I get all the stuff with cool, but like practically speaking, they're shooting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. How do they practically actually get that stuff in time? Very interested in that. So I thought I'll do something like a boom uppy type, to get on set, do my job really quickly, and then sit there. We do this and that and that. And we get two sizes, a wide and a tight, and shoot on the lines. Okay, all this stuff, the lingo. Okay, got it. So I did about 2 or 3 shows. This is about 2004, 5, 6 on that time, and then did a few music videos, kind of putting into practice what I was learning on these BBC TV sets and film sets. Went to a small so Kodak used to do these European summer schools. This is back in 2007. They'd get people from Spain, Estonia, and then you get put in 10 groups of 10. You make a film over 2 days. We had like the edit assistant from Jaws came over. It was pretty sick. And then you make a film, and then the winner gets 10,000 feet of 16mm stock.
Not £10,000.
Not £10,000, yeah, which was like, But and so I did that, and our film ended up winning the whole thing. So I thought, okay, maybe there is something. Maybe I don't know. I've not lost it completely. Came back to the UK, carried on doing a few bits and bobs. Made a feature length drama. I don't call it a feature film because it wasn't distributed, but it was a feature length sort of a drama. A small college in Manchester.
How did you do that? I mean, did you raise the money yourself? Did you get friends together? Like, what was the process?
Yeah, without boring too much. Basically, some lecturers wanted to convert a play that they were kind of teaching to their pupils into a script. They had a little bit of money and 7 days to shoot, and so they were looking for someone effectively to get a camera and 5 people, and I kind of bumped it up to this kind of film. So I can get camera crew and I can get this, and so I ferried people from London up and all this kind of stuff, and eventually made that. It was a 90-minute thing, but I didn't care. It was just playing around with something that's 90 minutes rather than 15. That was the kind of idea, like, okay, how do you make it work? So that was interesting, but, not a feature film, a feature-length drama, I call it. So then after that...
for bragging rights, you can call it a feature film.
Okay, feature film.
Because I think it's an important thing, and I think a lot of filmmakers, just as a very quick sidebar, I think a lot of filmmakers are spend years and years trying to get millions of pounds for their first feature. Mm-hmm. Once you've made a feature, it doesn't matter how bad it is, you've proven that you can go from A to B and you can stick with it and you can get it done. And I think it really helps in terms of getting next things made.
I totally agree, because it's getting, as a producer, when I'm looking at people's work, if they say, oh, I've made quite a lot of shorts, great, I'll look at those, but then you don't know necessarily whether they can hack it sometimes for, 4 weeks or, 12 days or whatever it is in the trenches, and it is a different thing. So if someone has made a feature, it does change your mindset, and you suddenly go, okay, it doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter. I know that they've gone through to the end, they've done the post, they've done the sound mix, and they've put it somewhere, and it actually does make a difference.
So back to your feature.
It helps if it's
drama.
great, of course.
Yeah. Lady Macbeth, William Oldroyd, shot for whatever, very little money. Disappearance of Alice Creed, it's nothing, but he did it. Shifty, So yes, it's true. Being able to tell and hold a story with a camera and a couple of people is important. So yes, stand corrected. Feature film. So did that 2007-8, and then blah 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 blah. Short films, blah, 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 blah. And then met, incidentally, the same producers who ended up doing Africa United. Yes, and they had another film, which ended up being Escape from Pretoria. I read the book for that in 2012. They got the rights back. They spent a long time doing rewrites. I ended up taking the script and rewriting it. interesting fact, that was supposed to be shot for like 1.5 million. Hire a converted hospital or abattoir or something and just shoot it. And then it kind of became a bigger and bigger thing.
But how did you get the producer? Because I mean, it's hard to find a producer that will say, okay, right, I'm going to trust you with what could be a fairly decent budget feature film and get you involved in the rewrites. And how did you actually convince said producer? Did you have rejections along the way? Like, how did that?
No, so they had the rights to the book. I had kind of dabbled. There was a film festival which they were part of, and I just at the end, basically, there's 10 people, and the top 3 for the festival have dinner with the kind of the top schmooze, and the other 7 get to go home. And I just hung around the toilets and was just like,
it's a good place to hang out.
Yeah, look, hi mate.
So that's where you find producers.
Producers, yeah. I just hung around. Yeah, I thought I'll get his card or something. He said, oh, come and join us. I didn't get through to the finals at 3, but he said, come and join us. So I had dinner, and then after that, blah blah blah. So that was more the thing. And then they had incidentally lost the rights to this book to somebody else, but he said read it anyway. So I'm like, yeah, do this, do that, cut to this, cut page 70 to page 90 out, do this. This is how you make it. And so he was like, okay, we'll have a look at getting the rights back. So that's kind of how I wheedled my way in.
Brilliant.
But then it was only supposed to be a 1.5 million, so who cares, right? Later...
I'm not sure the room's with you this one.
No. But what I mean is, at that kind of level, the risk. Oh yes, 1 million is a lot, but the risk is not a $20 million or $50 million.
You think with you as a newer filmmaker?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So with me as a newer filmmaker, it is a risk, but I mean, come on, and the thing is, I mean, yeah, you got. I think without being trite, I think you kind of need to act and think, and it might talk that way. You come on, you got to sort of be bullish.
Being aware that you are ready for it.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Something those two producers do is Mark and Jackie Footprint Films. Yeah. They're really brilliant at finding people who they believe have promise and massively backing them. And I don't think I realised how much that had added at the time that I was working with them. And I think in retrospect, and it's sort of interesting hearing your thing as well, like that's something that they really break. Like a lot of the time we're desperate to work with like, this massively famous or experienced person, and that's my vouch. And sometimes that means that you're just the least experienced person in the room. There's something to be said for people that will be real champions, right? Anyway, sorry, your story.
No.
Having someone that backs you is so important.
Yeah,
for sure.
And as a side point to what you're saying, if you're a producer and you've got a film and you know it's going to be an uphill battle, right? Most people would say, yes, I'd rather have some big hotshot director. Really? If you know the budget's not going to be more than X, 1, 2, 3, 4, you want this guy coming in, I want this, I want that, I want this. It's difficult, right? And they've got a lot of projects already. Actually, a tenacious, capable, dedicated younger filmmaker is probably of greater advantage to you because you know it's going to be a 1 to 3 year process, and that guy or woman will stick with you. And so, very good point.
Newer, if not younger.
Yes. Sorry, younger meaning in the industry, but yes, good point. Yeah, age is relevant.
I think the same goes for crewing up as well. Like, don't try and get people that are like on 400 a day, like focus pulling on commercials, like because they're just not going to be the one that stays behind when your indie film goes to shit.
Yeah.
You need to find people that are going to work with it and that are right for the budget level and they're going to work hard.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. So you were saying you're in that position where the book, you've reworked it, you've looked at it, and the rights have come back. So then from that point, how did it develop into a bigger picture, and how did Daniel Radcliffe come on board, and did that cement the extra budget?
So long story, I rewrote the script in 2015, and then Mark and Jackie, the producers, went to a slightly more experienced kind of ex-studio turned independent producer for a bit of help to get to that next kind of thing, or to kind of mix in that world. Then they said, okay, the budget needs to come up because the script, I could have put all these explosions and stuff, and I was like, yeah, stuff you suckers, it's from the book. And so it's like, it's not a 1.5 million film anymore. We now have this slightly more accessing producer in that kind of studio world. Let's kind of go big or go home. Then they started exploring some of the kind of the studios and mini majors. Then the producer had a connection, as I said before, with Dan Radcliffe's agent. So he said, okay, let's do it. Went to her, she read it in like 3 days, love it. Sent it to Dan, love it. This was 2016. Dan said he wants to meet. We met, like for 3 hours. We chatted about geopolitical affairs, about socialism.
I hope you knew some of that stuff.
Yeah, he's very, you're like, okay, A game, right, here we go, boom, and he's kind of throwing at you, so you have to sort of compete with him. He's very clever, he's very, very, very well read. So we met, and he just said, yeah, no, cool. So, I'll call my agent and say I'm in. This is August 2016, and I was like, yes.
Once you get him attached, that's it. The finance sort of follows, or not?
Yeah, so it was slightly rocky. So again, without naming names, we had a sales agent at that time who we later found out was kind of crumbling, and so they went to Cannes 2017. They raised far too little, and as a side point, we'd sent the script into United Agents or something, and Sam Neill's agent had read it for another actor and said, "Oh, have you cast this character?" Said, no. Maybe it could work for Sam Neill. Yes. Okay, of course. So we had the two of them, but it didn't really work because they weren't really selling. The sales agent wasn't selling to the optimum, with those two lead actors, and so we had to switch to a different sales agent. Then things really started. It was AFM, American Film Market, 2017. They were able to raise about 4 million pre-sales, and then things started cooking. And then we went to Cannes 2018. Our issue was we needed some money from South Africa. And again, without naming too many names, it was apparent that we would not get the money until after the window of the cast availability, which was January to March 2019. So we had to switch the whole production to Australia. Again, without going into too much detail. Yeah, exactly. The 82 Australians always coming through. And that was able to, help plug everything, and then we were able to shoot. So it was, I could say a lot more, but yeah, it was very duck and divey. I learned tons about that part of the process. And yeah.
Things do fall apart, and cast come and go, and it does definitely happen that way. It's not like a linear line where your project is suddenly greenlit, for sure.
What did you learn on that then? Obviously, it's a big budget movie. You're stepping up massively. You're working with some, huge names. How did you approach that? How did you deal with it? Was it the same? Was it different? Was it more emotional? Talk us through it.
It's different to a short film, but it's also the same. Different in the sense that there's more of it. And that punk over there, who's putting 2 million in, is telling me something. Who are you? Oh, okay. And you've got to accommodate all this stuff. That's what's different, as opposed to an indie where you just go, do this, do that, let's shoot here. You're more nimble. Greta Gerwig talks about when she shot Lady Bird, how the location manager hadn't booked something for a shopping mall, and so they sat there in a shopping mall car park at 7 a.m. with their iPads out and their iPhones out, looking for a supermarket and phoning round. You know what I mean? And then going, okay, and getting there at 10 o'clock with like 75 crew and shooting a scene, that kind of stuff. That's the budget was 3 million. You do that kind of stuff. At a slightly bigger budget, you don't do that. Someone's planned it and
Yeah, so, safety, regs, toilets.
Yeah. Exactly. So it was kind of Escape from Torah was more in that second category. You weren't able to just go, yeah, I'll just do this. It was like, no, you won't. It's all constrained, and that's been planned. So that was interesting. I had spent the many, many years preparing for this film, shortlisting the whole thing, and I had storyboarded about 40% of it. And so I found that when I was location recceing, it was very clear I needed, a shot from the bar. It needs to start, it needs to go across here, down, follow this guy's legs, come across the whole thing. Someone needs to cross in the foreground and needs to end up on the... So I was forcing every location to fit what I needed. Mm-hmm. So I found as if I was very clear, no, yes, that one, because I can get the shot. So that was very helpful, having some loose itinerary. Now, obviously, yes, if an actor comes along and says, I want to do it all by the flipping window, then you have to cut all the, but that's what, so that's what I would say, having that, at least for the main sequences, having a very clear idea of some of the key scenes means you can immediately begin to shortlist, say what you need, say what doesn't work to stop wasting people's time. That was quite useful. And I just went down the rabbit hole of my own rabbit hole of what I needed to get what was necessary. Yeah.
Was it difficult working with a major star? Did you was that a hindrance to you, or did you sort of have to get past that?
The biggest issue with not biggest, but one of the issues is if you're working with non-A-listers, you can go, oh yeah, should we just like do rehearsal and do this and do that, and it's like, no, they're in Paris shooting. They can be with you a week beforehand. Sorry, what? Yeah. And I want to get all three of them together. It's like, no, he's in Guatemala shooting. So that's the biggest thing. That you don't always have weeks and weeks and weeks of prep time. And so nowadays you probably do everything on Zoom, maybe. And I'd be an advocate of that. But back then, so I managed to get Dan and everybody there 2 weeks before, do some line rehearsals, which was helpful. And because I was storyboarded, they said, well, how's it going to look? So I got chairs and tables, and literally went, right, the door's here, you're going to come in from there. Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. And we just rehearsed it, and they loved being able to do that as the sets were being built. So, yeah.
And Kos, can we talk a little bit about your most recent film? Because you've just been to Iceland, which is pretty fucking exciting. It looks amazing. Like, how did it come to you? How did you get it?
Well, it was kind of funny what you're saying about Greta Gerwig changing locations in a supermarket. We had a month to change a country. So the writer Lucinda, who's here today, actually wrote it set in Hong Kong. And a month before we were about to go out to Hong Kong, we got a call from the Hong Kong Film Council saying they'd revoked our permits and our visas because of COVID. So we were like, shit, we've raised this money. I don't want to lose it. Like, the producers were talking about putting it back for a year, and I was like, there's no way, because I know as soon as you do that, the investors will fuck off and go somewhere else. So we literally just looked at a list, I think it was 15 countries on this list that had no COVID laws at all, and Iceland was one of them. I was like, I went there when I was younger, that's fucking cool. It's hot springs, mountains, glaciers, So the script, we had 4 days to, well, Lucinda, I didn't do anything, but we had 4 days to change it from like a one-car Y, fast-paced cityscape to like a Terrence Malick, isolated, like beautiful, like. It was a pretty stressful 4 days, but the investors loved that idea and, kind of made the movie, for what it was.
Did you sort of take into account tax credits, or was it like already financed so it didn't really matter?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at the tax credits because obviously when you have private equity and investors, you want to get the most for their money. So we looked at Iceland and it is really good, but like we said, in order for us to get that, we had to have a certain amount of the language in Icelandic, which we have done, which is now a nightmare in editing because I'm currently editing it and I'm like, no fucking clue what I'm saying. Like, this could be saying anything, and I'm just like, we said to the cast, like, you could totally troll us now in this Icelandic, and just like, this is the worst film I've ever been on, and we were like, yeah, you looked great, really good, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it'll be fine. But yeah, in terms of that, obviously the cast, the crew as well, we needed a certain percentage, but they were all on True Detective out there with Christopher Eccleston and Jodie Foster at the moment.
So how did you get attached to the project in the first place? Is this a producer you've worked with? Like, were you on board when the finance was there? Or?
So no, we actually, it's my partner Lucinda who wrote the script originally in Hong Kong, and we were like, okay, let's try and raise this. Like, we've got quite a few projects out there that are kind of between the 1 and 5 million range that it just takes so long. I hate sitting around doing stuff, especially outside of COVID. It's why I'll pretty much say yes to anything if a producer out there needs a director for hire, because I love being on set, I love working with actors, and I love making movies. So we always create our own opportunities. I think you have to in the independent world, rather than waiting for these other bigger projects. It's like, okay, well, let's go do something. So Lucinda wrote the script, and then I sent it to a producer I've worked with called Glenn Kirby, and he was like, okay, great, let's try and raise the money. Like a lot of producers, he'll be like, I love it, have you got cash? And we're like, no, can you help us? Like, no. So, right, so we basically went to a lot of investors who've invested in my previous movies and things like that, and it was a £100,000 movie, so stupidly low budget film.
Okay.
To say we had 12 days in Iceland, it was nuts. And we kind of got the equity that way. We approached a lot of co-producing companies out in Iceland, but they kind of literally laughed at us, like physically on a Zoom call, laughed, going, you want to make a movie in winter in Iceland on 100 grand? Like, yep, good luck. So that's another thing, is like when people say that to me, it's like, yeah, fuck you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, that's a big driving force behind me. So it's when all this stuff was happening, it's like, we have to go make this movie. And we got some, actors that we've known from previous projects. And
do you have problems with like finding locations, doing recce's?
So it is amazing nowadays. We have YouTube videos of like vloggers in Iceland and going, oh, that looks pretty. Oh, so does that. Okay, well, so we've got a scene in the film where it's like they wake up in Reykjavik and they go to this black beach. It's like, it's just a 9-hour drive for a day out. There's like 18-hour round trip. No one will know that. And so it's like looking at these locations and going, okay, well, let's all stick to the south coast of Iceland. Iceland and base ourselves there between Reykjavik and Selfoss and this other place, and basically figured out for each part of the script where we could go. And obviously we flew out literally 5 days before we started filming and kind of just went on a quick recce with the DOP to try and find places. And Iceland was great like that.
So they were helpful, like the people.
The people were.
You weren't getting
awesome.
issues with getting locations.
No, not at all. We literally go to pubs, to hot springs and stuff. They're like, yeah, come here. It's not a problem at all. They were really, really easy when it came to locations.
That's great. Well, it's interesting what Cos said there about when you go to a producer and you sort of go with your hand out. A lot of the producers have got their own stuff going on. So, of course, they're not just going to go, yeah, of course I'll take on one of your projects, another one of yours. But if you come with something, you come with an actor, or you come with some money, or you come with your full physical deck, or if you know about IMs, information memorandums, which is how you raise the money when you go to an investor, it has to be all done properly through a lawyer. And I had to learn all this. And on 3 Day Millionaire, we raised all the money ourselves, all through equity, all through private financing, mainly in Grimsby, because it was set there. It was a perfect place to try and find the money. But it's so important.
Regional finance as well. It's a great idea.
It's so important that you learn that. If you want to be a producer, or even if you don't, you're a director, but you're going in with something, you're trying to find a producer to work with you. To know this stuff is valuable. It's something Cos was saying there.
I would definitely piggyback on that. I think, I don't know, I'm not a veteran, but I reckon 20 years ago you could just be a director, a writer. Nowadays, I go to Cannes and I talk to directors and they're like, yep, so if you get 20% from this, us as filmmakers, we have to know the back end of it. We have to know about distribution. So I'm sure you all look very clever. So, but if you don't ever think, oh, that person or that department is not really relevant. No, get the card, get the information, meet them anyway, because there are so many facets. And if you do meet a producer and you're a director, and the producer's possibly struggling or something, you can go, hey, last year at Cannes I met this guy and this woman who did this and this. So you're helping, because you're not just a director, you're a filmmaker. And so you're all putting, so that's a very good idea. I don't think you should ever meet anybody in any strata of the film industry and say, oh, take the number, take the card, and keep them. And in 6, 12, 18 months, they may become useful.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, network as well. Like you know, if you're making a film, your budget is your crew. It's like who will work for your budget and who will trust you and who will want to go out into Iceland or wherever, godforsaken freezing cold place you want to shoot your movie. So never just look for the person with the money. Like always look for, your camera op might know a producer very well and might hook you up as a director. So you never really...
And so much of this stuff is powered by relationship, isn't it?
It's all powered by relationships.
It's such a confidence game. And I didn't talk about the Star Wars stuff, but I ended up doing a behind the scenes thing on the Star Wars thing. And the thing that I learned the most from that is how much things are powered by, I know you and I trust you, or I see how you work and I trust you, or I see what you bring to the table and I trust you. So what you're saying about always doing what you can to add value to somebody else, whether or not you're going to see it back, it's a good way to be in terms of personal health, but B, you never know, being seen, being known as somebody that's going to add value, that's going to improve rather than decrease the level of happiness in a place. It's a big thing.
So when you're working on television, for instance, so you worked on Halo and Willow. Let's talk about Halo. How do you transition from the mindset of a director of a feature film into a big show like that? How did you even get the job? How did you get stuck into that?
And a lot of what people are looking for in TV is to know that you're not going to be somebody that's going to try and wrap the whole thing around your ego. Genuinely, that's what TV interviews are largely to, do you have a vision? Yes, we're excited for you. Are you going to be a nightmare? Genuinely, as important. And it's that whole, it's just, I ended up doing TV because I had been 7 years in development and I hadn't directed anything and I was desperate to direct and was very, very poor and needed to make some money. And so Halo kind of came at the end of a run of work where stuff had been building up to that. And, I was very proud to do it and kicked off the new season. And it's a big show. We also shot in Iceland, which, it comes with its own fun, doesn't it? It's amazing, but it's gnarly. Yeah, the process of doing TV stuff that has been amazing, apart from getting to, you get to work with tools, you get to try this out, you get to how much can I receive somebody else's vision and deliver it while still bringing something of my own special sauce. All of that stuff is really great, but it's not yours. It's not yours. and you're coming in to play on somebody else's show, somebody else's party. You bring what you can within that. An American UK system works slightly differently. In terms of how much you own it a bit more in the UK than you do in US stuff.
What would you say you brought in terms of when you came on and started directing for that show? Like, what was it that you thought, okay, this is some interesting ideas that I feel like I can really add to the production?
Especially being the lead director rather than the second.
On Halo particularly?
Yeah.
I know that I bring a good relationship with cast. And, in TV, you're coming in to think... I mean, that's the thing. On film, a huge amount of energy goes into setting up the job, right? Mm-hmm. Financing it, crewing it, casting it, making all the things. It's like setting up a new business every single time. On TV, as a director, it's fabulous. It's already done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you come into an already working
Oh,
ship.
my word.
Yeah.
It's like, it's casted, floating. It's crude. I mean, it's not always cast, but it's crude. It's, it's going to be then. It's going to be there.
But then how do you deal with then, the DPs have already been on it, they've already looked at the actors have already been on it. So.
Well, it depends. DPs sometimes you bring with you, and sometimes it's occasional that they're already on. But DP and first, and editor, you normally bring with you, normally. But with Halo season 2, season 1 has been very successful. They were wanting to do a slightly different thing as a new showrunner, and a lot of the creative team was new, and it was just good chemistry. Like the showrunner was excited about what I would bring to the vision for it. I had. Because I've done Willow and Half-Bad and various things, I'd done it before was the thing, and so there was there's a lot of different studio calls and a lot of different producer calls and stuff, but it wasn't a stretch. Do you know what I mean?
And what was it that you kind of, when you first went into TV, like how did you, because I mean a lot of feature directors struggle to actually get into television as a sort of jump across.
Yeah, I had made a feature and really struggled to get a first break in TV, and it's for that reason. Like,
I mean, how did you do it? Did you do shadowing? Did you just
I was lucky in the sense of Channel 4 were running a paid shadowing scheme, and I got one of that. So I got put on Humans. I worked a full block and got paid to do that whilst not actually directing it, but picked up I would say do what you can to get second unit if you're trying to break into TV. I got 4 episodes of second unit across 2 blocks of Humans. Then still, struggled. Then got Strike Back because I do really love shooting action. So I got Strike Back, and that was a kind of you direct 2, we'll credit you for 1. A bit of a wheelie-dealy thing. And then still wasn't getting shows for the next couple of years after that. And then did a totally, was offered, because I've been shooting some action, my name was put on a list of second unit directors they wanted a female second unit on The Rise of Skywalker, so my name got put on that list by a producer who I'd met at a film festival 10 years prior, in the way that these things go. And I didn't get hired to do the second unit. I went in for the meeting on the second unit, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we've actually met the person we're going to." JJ's met Vic, who was amazing in LA, so that's not on the table anymore. But you seem cool. We wanted to meet you anyway. And then I got a call 3 months later saying, "Look, we're looking for a filmmaker to do the behind the scenes. We know this isn't what you do. JJ wants a filmmaker, not an advertising person. We thought of you." And I so nearly said no, because I wasn't doing that. I was getting down to the last 2 on TV stuff. That was my plan. And it was the best thing I could have possibly done, was to go through the door that opened rather than keep banging my head on the...
That's it. Working sideways, it can often be such a great move. Like, it's always about putting your ego aside. If you meet some amazing people, you never know where it's going to lead. So don't always just think, I'm going to have to just hold out, forever.
Absolutely. It's like Cos says just then before, sometimes you can say yes and it's cool.
Okay, I think we've got to wrap it up, I'm afraid. Thank you so much to our panellists. You've been incredible.
For Debs, for Cos, for Francis, for Dom. Debs, thank you so much for coming up. Thank you for the London Independent Film Festival. Thank you very much, Natasha. Cheers, guys. Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.